Xbox, the exit strategy. Reforge Gaming is going to talk a little bit about it here in the beginning of his stream. And honestly, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it. I just want to hear what he's got to say, because there could be something that is missing in, say, my thinking as to why he would call it an exit strategy. Now, in all fairness, another YouTuber, Some Ordinary Gamer, Mudahar, said in his title, Xbox just gives up. Xbox just gave up is the title that he used in his own video from this whole conversation as well. It's very interesting to see this when he put it out here. Where is it? Let me go ahead and get the video out for you guys. He said, so Xbox just gave up. Now, when you watch his video, he does say that he is excited about Xbox's new move because, weirdly enough, he is one of the forefront people that have been talking about Xbox making hardware that would actually go ahead and give gamers the ability for them to be able to access Windows on a PC backend. Very interesting stuff. In fact, listen to him say it here.
I think it's kind of cool. I think it's great. I've actually been talking about this whole situation for years now, okay, what Xbox should do. You know, at this point, just to let people use this thing as a PC, right? Like, let me split up the goddamn system in half, digitally, of course, and install Windows and just use it like a gaming PC, all right? I honestly think for the price tag right there, okay, this might be one of the best little, like, mid-range gaming computers you can buy, okay? That would be pretty goddamn cool.
I mean, he ain't saying any lies. Isn't it what those of us who've basically seen how Xbox could leverage Windows, we've been talking about this in some form or the other. In fact, I always was kind of like, why would they go ahead and brick their own system, which is built on Windows? And some of you have been telling me that they've always wanted to revert back to going to Windows. And I was like, well, I don't know how they're going to do it. And seeing as they're actually implementing it now, it's interesting. It's exciting to me. In fact, I'm willing, which is insane to hear, to invest in the Xbox ecosystem as long as they give me the freedom. That's my only thing. Just let me do what I want to freaking do. Reforge, on the other hand, is tagging this an exit strategy. I wonder what we're going to hear in this particular missive.
The latest in gaming news is all about Xbox and their future hardware endeavors. And as far as I can tell, this is an exit strategy, but not in the way that you might think. You might mean, well, how's it an exit strategy if they're committing to do hardware and they're announcing handhelds and they're announcing partnerships? Well, it seems to me that if you go through a bit of a history lesson and you actually examine things that Sarah Bond has said, as well as AMD, they are signaling that Xbox will no longer be building their own traditional consoles or their own traditional hardware. They will be using other companies to do it.
So what does that actually mean, since PlayStation also uses other companies to build its hardware? Is the PlayStation 5, Pro, Slim, and so on and so forth, are they not AMD-based devices? Is the PlayStation 3 not an NVIDIA-based device? Or is the reality that they're actually partnering with other companies to have branded, in terms of the partnership, Xbox and, say, Asus, is that where the difference is? Because AMD might as well have just, not said anything, because I'm almost certain that if you were to maybe look very carefully inside of the components of the PS5 and the Series X, you'd see AMD's own imprints on there. I'm not certain what this difference actually makes. Let me go ahead. And the operating systems that it's going to run are Microsoft-owned operating systems. Let me keep listening.
And the Xbox operating system will soon basically be replaced by Windows. This is something.
Excuse me. The Xbox operating system is actually a Windows-based UI front end. So they're replacing it with a better operating and more freer operating system, and this equates to an exit. Reforge, you better. Let me just caveat this. You better be going to where this direction of this conversation should be going which is for the benefit of the consumer. That's where you need to end. Anywhere else would absolutely blow my mind.
That many of us anticipated. They're essentially trying to get out of the hardware business. They want to get into the ecosystem business, the software business.
Excuse me, they've always been in the ecosystem business. And they're not getting out of the hardware business. That would be crazy, because you just said that they're having people build their hardware for them as they've always been, and as PlayStation and Nintendo have been. These two don't proprietarily mint out hardware. They never really have. All of a sudden now, because Xbox goes to basically expand upon its branding, it means that they're leaving the hardware business. I gotta say, this is not a good way to equate this conversation. I'm sorry, because this is like somebody, looking at, say, a mixture of, say you made them scrambled eggs, right? And they're like, well, the cheese is not properly distributed across the entire surface area of the scrambled eggs. Hence, I'm not gonna call it scrambled eggs with cheese. That's literally what this seems like to me. It's a nitpicking of the most absurd kind.
It's what Microsoft has always been good at. That's really why they're the king. Now, I'm not talking about Xbox here. I'm talking about Microsoft.
Oh, no. 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 At this current moment, before any of these hardware devices have ever been launched, they've been bodying PlayStation from top to bottom. Please excuse yourself with that attitude. This is what these folk do. Well, they can't really cut it in the console business. Homie, if they stuck this generation out without any movement and improvement, they'd still body PlayStation, because they understand exactly what gamers want. That's why they can invest $89 billion to do it. If they didn't have the cash, they'd still find the $89 billion. That's one beauty of this of the people running this company, is that they understand exactly where to put money. Yes, they can throw money away sometimes. No problem with that. That happens to everybody. But in putting good money where good money ought to go, man, you can't beat that. I'm sorry. If not, they wouldn't be running the company, and they wouldn't be raising the share price and benefiting investors the way they have been the last few years.
Even speculated in the past that Microsoft was essentially killing the idea of Xbox, because calling everything an Xbox and essentially working with other manufacturers to build things for you is very different than what a lot of people expected from them in the future.
Huh? You all speculated they were killing the Xbox, only for them to double down and then now expand upon it. And somewhere, somehow, that is some kind of you see, you guys are now fomenting your own ideas and slapping it on Xbox. It's okay. They'll just wiggle out of it and laugh at you. But let's keep going. I already see where you're going, and you're not going to end up in the right position. Oh, my gosh.
So sit back, enjoy a little brief history lesson and some analysis of things that have been said recently. And if you liked it and you want to be here for the live discussion that followed this, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. If you're watching in the live audience right now, do me a quick favor, go crazy on the like button. And we have a huge goal for the week. So if you want to support directly, click join, pick Member Plus. So if you've been paying attention to Xbox for a while, a history lesson, and some of the recent quotes from Sarah Bond and AMD, you might wonder what they're going to be doing with hardware in the future, because it's quite a bit different than what a lot of people imagine. Some are claiming that this is the future and this is where things are going, while others remain skeptical. A history lesson, I think, is important. You have to remember that Phil Spencer notoriously said that they cannot out-console Sony. They're not in the business of doing that.
Of course. Sony has played a very, very strong block game and everything, and they've taken the console race. They can have it. But Xbox doesn't need the console race to win, right? However, they can add the consoles to their portfolio to win. And that's the distinction that none of these talking heads want to ever acknowledge. That Xbox will abandon 77 million console users? Right? 70 million? How many? What's that number again? Here it is. They have a combined user base of 79 million Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S users. They're not going to abandon this. This is going to be the most insane thing if they were to abandon all these folk. And this is exactly where I think Reforge, you're going to catch a lot of heat, because you're not bringing this data set along. you're presuming that they're going to abandon this number of gamers from this presentation that was leaked at the time they had sold 21 million consoles and were supporting the remaining 59 million or 58 million Xbox One consoles that were sold, of which they still are doing so. And now that this number has gone up, the 21 million, and is being speculated to be around 40 million, you can call it 30 million, you can call it whatever you want. This is why PlayStation said they can supply multi-game on a subscription level, on a console level, and on a PC level. That's not even including their PC base without any hardware that they are already cultivating without the launch of the Xbox Ally X. This particular reality must be stated before you land anywhere else. If not, you'll catch a lot of heat for not positing the full context. You want to talk history? You better bring the data that follows the history, especially now.
And they seemingly shifted to the publishing strategy. And because they shifted to the publishing strategy, this essentially put them in the position to make more money from software and shift away from their focus on their own box.
They're not shifting focus from their box. This is a lie. This is absolutely a lie. And I can confidently say that it is a lie because the Xbox One consoles are still being supported, even gaining more support than the PlayStation 4 from Sony themselves. So where are they shifting to? They are playing an additive strategy. You all keep saying shift because you want to, in your brains, subtract what Xbox is doing. However, they are playing an additive strategy. They're taking even their own console and adding onto the software UI capabilities. Everywhere you look at Xbox's business, it's addition upon addition upon addition. There's no way you can tell me that they're going to abandon these consoles that are netting them about 5 billion projected in subscriptions just because they want to go pursue publishing. They're not making as much money in publishing as they are in services and subscriptions, and even third-party revenue all added together even makes it a bigger juggernaut. That's why they're adding more hardware to the existing hardware, and we'll keep adding more hardware because it means that gamers can play their games anywhere and then thereby net them more money. Y'all are reading this whole business proposition from I don't know what it is that y'all are cooking out here, but this is going to be the strangest thing I've ever seen.
We're essentially saying, we are now going to be putting our games everywhere. Satya Nadella said this.
Yeah, so they can make more money because they've been doing it. They did that before. Before they even moved over to PlayStation, they were already putting their games here on Steam and grossing in the top gain revenue for years. This is Steam Best of 2021. We go back to 2020. This is Steam Best of 2020. Their games are here. Let me see. Halo Master Chief Collection, Sea of Thieves, scroll down, Flight Sim, scroll down. Let me see if we can find anything else from Microsoft on this list over here. And Xbox Game Studios. Did I see Grounded? There we go, Grounded. Let's look. I'm not calling Bethesda stuff. They didn't own Bethesda then. But I'm showing you guys right here, right now. Let's go to 2021, and you'll see that this strategy has already worked for them as well. Keep scrolling, VG. There we go. Sea of Thieves again, 2 years in a row. Forza 5, Forza 4, coming in to basically take the top grossing spot in the top 100, taking in the top. This is the top 24. Up here, Platinum is 3 and 4. Platinum is the top 12 games. Then Gold is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12. So the top 24 games, Xbox has got 3 games in the top 24 games that are grossing the highest revenue on Steam in not only 1 year, but 2 years in a row, right? And I've not moved to 2023. Let me see. We see here again, Sea of Thieves, Halo Master Chief. Is there okay, at this time, there's not a stinking Forza game that's actually grossing at this point. But there is a Grounded in the top 100. If we go to 2023, Xbox actually made the Platinum category with one game being Starfield. At that time, they had acquired Bethesda. Where is it at? Starfield. And then they moved into the bottom tiers, into the Gold, I think the Bronze tier or so, with Sea of Thieves And also, what other game did they actually bring out that actually took some money? Age of Empires at this time frame. So again, this so-called talk of they're pivoting to the publishing strategy is y'all not paying attention that they're actually using an additive strategy. Again, I'm trying to inform you because the information is right here, yet you all close your ears to Steam and you la your way into what I think are straight up fallacies. Learn something from what Xbox has been doing. I don't care if you learn it from me. I don't care if you learn it from a freaking bird on a branch in a tree. Get the information right.
CFO said this, that they would be starting to put their games in other places. And because of this,
they've been put...
it seemed that there was going to be, a concerted effort for them to no longer have exclusives. And that, I think, has been upsetting for many of the Xbox loyal.
No. It's a handful. I've been observing the Xbox community. I told y'all, I said in Puerto Rocks podcast, I said my latest fascination is Xbox, which means that I need to catch up on a lot of ground. There's so much I don't know about Xbox. I mean, it's insane how much I'm looking. Someone was telling me the other day, dude, you got to come and look at this from the Xbox perspective. I'm like, what does that even look like? They're like, sit down. And I'm like, all right, tell me. I know nothing about Xbox. And yet these folk who are much more, antagonistic towards Xbox's business proposition act like they're the experts. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, you don't even know the PC side of Xbox, which is one I can say I'm a little bit more comfortable with coming from the PC perspective, right? And all of them are missing it, which is insane. Every single one of them missing it or ignoring it. Nib95, Mooch, Reforge now. And I'm calling y'all's names because you guys, when I hear you speak, I don't hear you actually take into consideration the work that's been done here, the proof testing, the proof of concept, and the success that they've gotten from here. And you don't add it in your missives. And so when you come out and speak, you miss out an entire concept across the board, where Xbox is stealthily growing an entire user base and now wants to capture and capitalize on them and pretty much take them away from Steam if they possibly can. And y'all are still here worried about them not having console exclusives, while PlayStation themselves are following suit. As even when we look at the best of 2024, PlayStation is also seeing success on PC, having a platinum game or having one of their games land in the platinum category in the year 2024. Which was Helldivers 2. Man, I gotta say, there's a lot of catching up to do, man. I'm 2 minutes and 50 seconds into this video, and I realize that you've left out so much context and you want to give a history lesson. I don't think you've actually basically done enough work to give a history lesson. I'm sorry.
But they also continue...
Actually, I'm not sorry. Get to work.
...to make assurances about their own hardware. Phil would say things like, boxes in the name. We'll always have a console. There was heavy hints from him about wanting to have a handheld. Well, recently, they canceled their own handheld according to sources, and they're opting to have Asus do one for them instead, the Asus ROG Ally X.
So what? The Xbox ROG Ally. Oh, get the name correctly, sir. I've been corrected on my videos as well. It's an Xbox ROG Ally X. Get the name right.
And on the heels of that, Sarah Bond did the video that you can sort of see in the background here. And I believe this was a huge clue in this video that many picked up on. She said the following, that they were working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the #1 platform for gaming.
Yes.
Now, in this video, the focus is on future devices having backwards compatibility.
Yes.
This is something that we heard from Jez Corden. We're hearing from other sources.
Yes.
That essentially everything is going to be able to play all of your games from back to the Xbox era, the first one, to 360 to now.
Yes.
Everything will be available. It will not be running in the way that you might expect. People are speculating it's going to run native and no longer be, an emulator that has to open. It'll be something that actually uses the hardware itself.
Well, here's the challenge, though. And I recently learned, and in Reforge, this is why I hope you watch these videos, because I hear you talk in your streams. Oh, everybody says Reforge does this, and sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of humility. The Xbox users finally exposed this whole thing to me. Apparently, even the Xbox One games that are running on the series are using some kind of a hypervisor, some kind of an emulation translation mechanism. So if Xbox were to take these games to PC, they would just basically be using a similar methodology. So the so-called argument about native and not native is highly irrelevant, as even Steam itself, where you can run your games on Steam OS, same game, Steam Deck, same game, Windows and such, are using translation mechanics to pretty much get the games to communicate across the board with one another. This is not even a talking point that we need to worry about. If anything, if we want to talk about it, we might as well dive beneath the layers and see what is going on underneath.
So you combine this video with Sarah Bond with the latest AMD info. AMD says they're partnering with Xbox, but they're going to, quote, go beyond building custom chips for Xbox consoles to create chips that combine the power of Ryzen and Radeon for consoles, handhelds, PCs, and the cloud. Now, here's the deal. This makes it clear that AMD is no longer going to be doing custom chips for Xbox. This is a larger effort from them.
What? How do you know that? Mama Sue told you this?
And Xbox seemingly is happy to work with them because they're going to be able to leverage this technology to do the backwards compatibility.
Yo, backwards compatibility is a software-based thing that Xbox and Microsoft can take care of. The so-called custom chips that they're not going to be making for them, what does that even mean? When they literally said that they're going to be making them hardware that is capable of supporting Xbox's own vision.
As I was listening to all this, all along this journey, I kept saying, why the focus on backwards compatibility? If they're going to have others making the hardware for them, if you're typically, buying a console, many people were concerned going into Switch 2. Well, are my games still going to work? That was a big concern. Why? Because you're going from Switch 1 to Switch 2. Going from the Xbox One to the Xbox Series consoles, that was a concern. So from where I sit, they're shifting away from doing their own traditional hardware. They're getting into the business of saying, well, everything's an Xbox, your TV, your tablet. We've got Asus making a handheld. This partnership with AMD seems to be signaling that they're going to have other people making the hardware.
This partnership with AMD should actually be the thing that tells you that they're making the traditional hardware that they've always made, and they've made it with AMD. Reforge. What the heck are you talking about? See, I think one thing about the gaming conversation is we can talk about everybody having different perspectives. And yes, there's some speculation on Reforge's end and some speculation on my end in this video. But I just feel like, at the end of the day, man, a lot of these folk really just have to have, if Xbox, if there was no Xbox, I don't think a lot of these folk would even have anything to talk about, to be very honest. I'm convinced now that all of this obfuscation of the reality is just so wild to me and weird. I gotta go, man. Thanks for watching. Peace out.